Alright, we're back to drawing our toolbox on grid paper. We're going to do this piece here now, which is the tray ends. This is the one I marked out and went over with Nico, just so we can have it as a visual representation of it. Now, this piece was 250 by 167, so we're going to draw this in a scale 1:1, because it's going to fit on our piece of paper. We'll start up in this corner here, maybe, what's that, 4 squares down, 4 squares in, and we're going to go 250 straight across. It's 167 down, so I'm going to round that up to 170, just so that I can keep within my squares. Now, because I rounded up then, that means that we're always going to round up. Grab my triangle to do that last one. The good thing about using a triangle is that you only have to line it up once, and then you can do both your lines, and you know whether or not they're going to be square. Right, we might as well start with doing the first line we did on this when we made it ourselves, which would be that 5mm line straight across the top. 5mm straight across the top. We then did a 12, a 12, and a 12, which is this line here. So we're going to do that, round it down to 10mm. 12. 12. 12. Our 27mm line then can obviously be rounded up to 30. So that's 10, 20, 30. 30. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Or simply measured to 30. Right, there's our first set of lines. Let's pick up my diagram. Just dropped. The next thing we did was we did these triangles over here. Hopefully you guys can see that in the camera. They were 54mm, so we're going to round that up to 55. 55 up to there. And, is that right? Nope. 55 up to there. And then they just made a triangle back through that point there. Over here, 55. Exactly like we marked it out on our piece of sheet metal. Next step we did was we measured 140mm up here. So we go 140, put a little mark. Over on this line, 140, put a little mark, and then it got squared out to there and went down 27. We obviously don't need to draw that square line across, because we can just come across the line. 27 is going to get rounded to 30. 30 down. Putting in our detail. 140 up from there. Down over to here. Down 27. Just rounded to 30. And across. We then found a center. So 250 divided by 2 is 125. Right there. We don't even need to measure it top and bottom on here because we've got grid paper. Now this is the center line, so I'm not going to draw a big solid line. I'm just going to draw a dotted line. All the way. Dotting it every 5mm. That denotes a center line. Up here, we went 15 either side for a total of 30. So I'm going to come in. There, 5, 10, 15, draw them up for our little tab. We then joined those dots to these dots. We're nearly done. We then came up 5mm there and over here. And remember how we put our ruler onto that line to draw that little triangle. Do it on the other side as well. That triangle. And then we connected it down to there. Right. There's all the lines. Now we have to go back through and dimension them. So, I'm going to start on the left, coming out of the block, and I'm going to put my overall size of the piece here. It was 167. I'm going to put my overall length up the top, but I've got a couple of other measurements that need to be up here. So I'm just going to bring it up to the very, very top square, just so that I'm leaving enough room when I want to come in later and do my measurements for all this stuff down here. Now that whole piece is 250 wide, so 250. Now we can start putting in some detail. So down in this corner, I'm going to start with the 27. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks over to here. Have that one. So that measurement there was the 27. Now we've got it once there, so I don't need to put it over here, but I do need to put it out here. And I want it to look pretty similar to this one, so what have I got there? 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Starting about halfway away from the first one, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Then up to here. Filling it in. So that it looks exactly like this one down here. 27. Right. We've now need to put this 12mm in. I've already got a line there. So I'll come to here. Draw it across. 12. I'm going to do the same thing here. Draw it across. 12. Now I don't need to go and put that detail anywhere else because it's evident that line's straight. It's very evident that that line and that line and that line and that line are all the same across the board. So I'm just going to leave it like that. What I am going to do now though is come up the top. I'm going to put in my 5mm line. And then I can come over here and I can start doing my triangle. Now, it appears as though I've made a little bit of a mistake. I should have pushed this line out a square so that I had enough space to put in my 54mm measurement on both sides of this. Seeing as I haven't done that, this is going to look a little bit messy. Now this is going to be the difference between like a C level and a B level, is where you're putting all of your measurements. Having this measurement out here isn't very clear or concise, so you can't really see that it goes to there. I'll add a dotted line in just to try and cover up my mistake, but it's not a very good fix. So when we're doing these sort of drawings, we need to think first where all our information is going to go. The overall size should have come out to here so that I had enough space to put the smaller ones in, because you want to go large, smaller, smaller, smallest. Alright, moving on from that mistake, hopefully you don't make it as well, but you probably will if you're following this video. We're going to come over and we'll do this detail here. Now, because it's a larger measurement, I can bring this out a little bit further. And we've got 2 points up here. We've got this point here. And then we've got this point up here. Draw my leader lines down. Now, this point here was 140 up, so I'll write in 140. And then this one here was 27mm down from there. So, what's that? 113? So it's 113 up from the bottom. Right, what other detail are we missing on this? We've got that, we've got that. We need to put this part here in. Now, because, before, we need to label that this is a center. So I don't need to write in that it's 125 because, you know, it's a center. You can do the math yourself. But I do need to put this in up here. And the other measurement that I'm going to put in here is the internal measurement between these two things. The reason I'm going to put that internal measurement in is because it's going to come up later when you want to do any of your checking. Right? So these should come all the way down. So should these. So should these. That internal measurement on this drawing is 190, but in the actual one that you're making, it should be 196. Because the base gap that you've made in your toolbox is 200, and there's about 2 mil for the joints to line up and in. Now the last little measurement we need is the fact that this here is 30 millimeters long. So what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to draw that measurement halfway between the center line. Sorry, across the center line. Down to there. And I'm just going to call it 30. Because it's intersecting that center line and it's even, you should realize that it's 15 either side. So we've got the overall size, we've got the triangles, 12 to 27, we've got the 140, 113, 5, all of that detail at the top. What we don't have is this detail here. So I'm going to dot a line across. Now notice how my dots are far smaller than my dashes that I did over here. That's because they're not denoting a center line. I'm just using them to get the information out onto the page. And I'm going to put in 5. Yeah, that looks like it's about it.